Freewing sells several different Death Doritos, but which one is right for you? Hey there, I'm John, this is Two Brothers RC, and this is the Death Dorito Showdown, or what Freewing Delta Wing is right for you. A Death Dorito is so named because it's a big triangle bristling with weapons, and in RC scale they tend to be some of the most fun jets that you can fly. So how do all of the Freewing Doritos rank against each other? Watch, and let's find out together. The one area all Delta Wings excel in is flying at high angles of attack, or high alpha for short. This essentially means that the plane is flying slow, sustained flight with the nose held up. Delta Wings, by design, fly incredibly well like this, up until you get the angle of attack a bit too high, and then the jet starts to slide sideways on you, which is called lateral departure from controlled flight, though some RC pilots might call it dropping a Tootsie Roll in your boxers. Successfully flying high alpha requires understanding throttle management, airspeed management, rudder, and elevator input. If you're too high, you slide into a crash. If you're too low, you just hit the ground. But if you get it just right, you get some really frickin' sick looking passes. The fighter jet of my people, Gripen, is S tier in this face-off, but only if you buy the thrust vectoring system and do all of the mod work needed to get the center of gravity shifted aft. Eurofighter and J10 are both tied at A tier. Both are excellent jets that carve clean lines and are not tossed around by turbulence easily. Mirage is B tier. It's a heavy bird for its size, but it manages to fly well and sustained, slow, high alpha. Gripen, without thrust vectoring, is D tier, easily the worst of the bunch, the least interesting to fly like this, and also the easiest to get into lateral departure. Do not recommend, 0 out of 10. Which one of these jets doesn't come stock with those tiger decals that everyone is sick of? Mirage, Gripen, and J10 get S tier for not forcing that scheme on every owner. At least the J10 is a hawk. If you didn't put the Chinese Air Force decals on, you might actually think it was a House Atreides J10 from Dune. Eurofighter gets a C because at least the tiger eyes on the canards look cool. Rafale is not on the list today, but it gets a D anyhow. That Spirit Airlines Tiger Meat livery is, something else. Agility is where these beasts start to pull away from one another. Gripen, with the thrust vectoring nozzle balanced 45mm behind the marks, is perfection. There's no words to describe it. Oh wait, yes there are.
But if you want pure you physics, Newton be damned power, you got that with the Freewing Gripen.
Gripen is clearly S tier, doing almost any maneuver you can think of. Gyro stabilized with AS3X Plus on the canards, flight controls, and heavily on the vectored nozzle, it's almost crash-proof too, just so long as you don't fly it into a tree, or the ground. J10 comes in with an A, being able to do a lot with no vectoring. It is the best flying jet with no vectoring. Balanced 40mm behind the mark, J10 is made for a gyro. AS3X Plus makes it fly so well. Eurofighter is gorgeous, but its agility is lacking. Without full span elevons, it can't backflip, even 50mm behind the mark, so it's not quite as capable as the other jets here, getting B tier in agility overall. AS3X Plus does do a lot for this jet though, with the CG this far back. Mirage is C tier, fast and agile, but easy to lose sight of, prone to accelerated stalls from being a fat little porker, because it's a 70mm jet with an 80mm motor in it.
Holy crap! When you're gonna stall, just don't stall.
Gripen, with no thrust vectoring, continues to be D tier. Being nose heavy by default doesn't help it at all. And even if you do get it to balance 40mm behind the marks, it's still nowhere near as cool as the thrust vectored version. Feels bad, man. In the speed category, unsurprisingly, Mirage is S tier. Believe me when I tell you that nothing else has on this plane for speed. It's got a ton of wing loading, sure, but it ships featuring a motor that allows Gripen to hover.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
And for this thing to basically be a rocket with wings, absolutely insane. Eurofighter and J10 are pretty much tied for speed, giving you an impressive feel as they carve through the air. Both Gripens get a B for speed, even with the new motor they ship with. It still feels that they're lacking a little bit on the high end for thrust. Flight time is a bit of a toss-up. You can get 5 minutes of flight out of any of these jets, or an S rank if you're careful, but The average jet pilot is gonna slam that stick to the front. All gas, no brakes, baby. With that in mind, the tier system is gonna take the average pilot into account here. There is no S-tier jet for anyone pegging the stick. Eurofighter and J10 both average 3 to 4 minutes at best with throttle slamming, and A in the ranking. Mirage and both Gripens will get you 3 minutes on average, or a B. These jets aren't being ranked on their factory potential, but rather their full potential, and that is only unlocked by modifying them. Some of these jets require more work than others, and here's how they rank up. Mirage is easily the best jet to get to perform out of the box, even with its limited agility compared to these other jets. All you gotta do is slam the battery as far back as you can get it, enable a pitch gyro with throttle-based gains to avoid oscillation. S tier. Not hard to pick that one. J10 is almost as easy. Move the control board back into the turtle deck behind the canopy, then slam a battery into the turtle deck as far back as it'll go. Bam! 40 millimeters behind the mark. And now you're in a gyro isn't needed, but holy crap is it probably a good idea territory. Split the elevons and canards from the control board, remove the pilot figure, and you're good to go. A tier.
Holy crap! That is agile A.
Eurofighter requires adding tail weight in the tail boom behind the rudder, or less weight if you carved up the nozzle and put the weights into the nozzle itself. Then you have to move the battery tray to where the control board was, split the elevons and canards, slam the battery all the way to the back of the turtle deck, and remove the pilot figure. Lots of work, but worth it. B tier. Could easily be easier, but not as hellish as what's coming next. Both Gripens require weight added to the nozzle. This is an irritating adventure filled with pressing wheel weights into the foam, cutting the foam, placing the weights into the foam, gluing the weights in, then painting the entire nozzle again so that the weights aren't visible. The thrust-vectored version gets even further aft with the servo weight and the weight of the vector system. Then all you need to do is rewire the front of the jet to move all the wiring as far aft as possible, then get the receiver to the back of the tray, and then you slam the battery all the way back. Oh, so you remove the pilot figure. Hellish is one way to describe this process. Both jets are D tier. But the vectored upgrade version of this jet is the best flying Freewing jet, and I will die on that hill. It's worth the work. In terms of overall quality, there's some remarkable differences in these jets. Coming in queen at S tier, Eurofighter and J10, both recent Freewing jets, both Death Doritos, both absolutely stunning with the best fit and finish I've ever seen on foam airplanes. Watching it on YouTube doesn't do it justice. You need to see one of these jets in person to truly appreciate just how gorgeous they actually are. Coming in right behind them is Gripen. Nice fit and finish overall, but missing a lot of the fidelity and scale details that have come in later Freewing jets. Gripen is still a beauty, but not in the same class as the S tier choices. In C tier we find Mirage. The little porker is missing navigation lights and landing lights and has design cues that date back well over 8 years. It's an old plane, and it looks like it too, no matter how many times Freewing updates it with new electronics. Still a pretty jet, but it's nowhere near in the same league as the rest of these birds. Now, before you completely roast me, because the Mirage is your favorite jet ever, or you think the Spirit Airlines Tiger Meat livery on Rafale is better than the Mona Lisa herself, this is all just my opinion, and it's based on the individual reviews that I've done of these planes over the years, having owned and flown all of them. And one trend that becomes glaring to me looking at this tier face-off is that all of the new Freewing offerings are at the top of the rankings in every category. Eurofighter and J10 both dominate high alpha, livery, and overall quality, things that you probably care a lot about. If you're a weirdo like me and you want to see a jet fly like a 3D plane, Gripen dominates the most important metrics with thrust vectoring. Mirage falls middle of the road and only excels in speed, but all of the jets are a good choice overall, except Gripen without TV. It's, I don't know man, it sucks that it doesn't perform as well as I want it to. So now you know what my tier ranking is. Let's get some real-time thoughts on how these jets compare to one another.
It just looks like it defies gravity. Again, Newton be damned, right? Like, who needs physics? Just throttle up and just do whatever you want. That's what thrust vectoring and a 45mm center of gravity gets you. I mean, this jet just does pretty much whatever you tell it to do. It is absurd in all the good ways. God, I love this thing. In the comparison between the Death Doritos, I'm going to tell you right now, based on first-hand experience, this setup the way mine is set up is the most agile Death Dorito you're going to find. Eurofighter ain't got on this. Mirage ain't got on this. What's the other Death Dorito that Freewing sells? The J10 is the closest one in terms of maneuverability. And you don't have to do very much to it to get it to be like that. But if you want pure physics, Newton be damned power, you got that with the Freewing Gripen. This slow whirl you're gonna do, it has no elevator input at all. Watch this. That's all gyro work, keeping that level about as level as it's gonna get. That's like full-scale jet level almost. AS3X Plus is just another level of dialed in these airframes. That is one of the biggest ass slides I've ever done. I just carved a rainbow through the sky. God, I love this jet. Even if it's not as agile as Gripen, it carves better lines, it's way faster. It doesn't eat up batteries as much. In every way that's possible, they're very close. However, the thrust vectoring mod that I put into Gripen just makes it a better jet overall. God, you saw that pull?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually me finger slipping and it still didn't depart from controlled flight. Why do you need 8 cells? I don't understand it. The amount of power this thing has is just up chain good. That was literally all roll input. With AS3X Plus, this jet flies this is the first test flight even, and it's flying so ridiculously good. Here we go, landing in turbulence. Let's see how our first flight with AS3X Plus does. And that nose wheel gyro does such a good job of keeping it tracking straight. Insane.
And hey, if you think this kind of video is fun and interesting, smash that super thanks button and hit the like too while you're at it. And check out the AS3X Plus tutorial linked at the end to learn how to set up your jets to fly as well as ours do here. There's no point to running a channel without giving something back to the community, and we choose to share our knowledge and time with you so that you can grow with us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.